I tell you, the weather is really starting to turn again after about 6 hours of not seeing anything fall from the sky. It's been steadily raining now for the last 90 minutes or so, and it is getting really windy, which is also causing a challenge for the rescuers and the volunteers out there. I want to show you where I am, if I can do this without the umbrella blowing away. This is Settlement Point Road, I should say. The sign says Vacation Village, inquiries welcome. I suspect they're not getting any takers at the moment. The houses behind me there, most of them are 2 levels, and people have had to move up into their top level because the bottom level has absolutely flooded. I spoke to one of the women. She came in on a police boat because she called the police boat to say she needed food. She had to get to the shops. Sharon Jones told me that the water came up so quickly, they were all caught unawares. And when we talk about the speed of the water, this was over a period of maybe 3 hours. It went from being the regular River Hastings that she saw in front of her house to then suddenly into her front yard and then into her house. Absolutely shocked by it. Still had a sense of humour, told me she'd always wanted a waterfront property, not the kind of property that she was thinking she was going to have. This has been the warning all the way, Joe, about not getting complacent because suddenly the rain had stopped, thinking that the worst had passed, because there are forecasts still for a lot of rain, as she was saying, in this area, and hundreds of people still in those evacuation centres. Let's hear from local Superintendent Shane Cribb.
We've got some townships that have been isolated for a number of days now. For example, we've got the township of Comboyne right now has no water. So today we need to come up with some way that we're going to get water into that township. The small township of King Creek is isolated. So we're now working on supplies into that area. Then we go across to the area of North Shore. The entire North Shore is isolated and don't have any power. So we're working tirelessly today to ensure we can get something into the community to try and provide that support they require.
And Lisa, what impression are you getting there of the scale of this? We also heard Shane Cribb saying that he expects there are thousands of properties that have had water through them, just in his area there. What's it looking like along the New South Wales coast?
Well, we flew into Coffs Harbour yesterday because Port Macquarie Airport had closed, so we drove about an hour, 45 minutes down from Coffs Harbour to Port Macquarie, and we just saw a sea of water along the way. You could see fence posts poking up out of the water occasionally. Sometimes there'd be houses or cottages just sitting there plonked on a tiny bit of a mound or a hill, but if the rain keeps coming and those waters keep rising, then they're going to be in trouble as well. A lot of people we spoke to this morning, Joe, had said that these outlying areas, if people did get out of there in time, that they just don't know what may have happened to their houses. They've tried putting the choppers up, but as you can tell, the weather has not been conducive to being able to get that aerial view of it. I do also want to share something with you, Joe, some vision that we got in the Tuncurry area when there was an incredible rescue that was going on of a group of adults and children who were in the caravan park. Nighttime rescue, lots of who found themselves with these swift moving waters, these rivers that are converging, the rain still coming down on saturated land. They were a very lucky group of people.
Okay, Lisa Miller there in Port Macquarie and a pretty blowy Port Macquarie. Let's head south now to Tim Swanston in Sydney. So for people just unfamiliar with the Hawkesbury River and Sydney, just explain for us where you are in relation to the Warragamba Dam, which is those images that people might have been seeing over the last couple of days with the huge release of water from there. Where are you in relation to that dam, and how much water is coming down the Hawkesbury?
Yeah, look, so we're quite far downstream, but sort of towards the far northwest of Sydney. So a lot of that water has just been ploughing down through the Hawkesbury, and we've seen that river has been rising quite considerably this morning. And I promised you earlier, you asked if there's been some properties already that have been started to be impacted. And just behind me in some of these low-lying areas of Windsor, we're already seeing some homes start to be inundated at the back. Residents here say that there's quite a significant gully towards the back of their property, some 15 metres or so, and the water's already very quickly risen sort of from yesterday afternoon right through to this morning. So as mentioned, as we're getting those huge outflows from the dam, that's sort of travelling through the Nepean into the Hawkesbury, and that's causing a lot of issues for this particular part of northwest Sydney. Now, we do know, though, and in some fairly recent news, that much of the threat on the Nepean River has eased, so there is an all clear for the western part of Jamison Town. Flooding has eased on the Nepean River, and there's been some all clear issued to a number of areas if those properties are safe to return to. But of course, there's many road closures across much of Sydney right now as water just continues filling up. I spoke to a few people here not too long ago, and they told me about their evacuation last night and this morning.
Got a SES flood warning at about 10:30 last night to say that we were going to be evacuated at some stage, probably by 9 o'clock this morning, and sort of moved everything upstairs, hoping that that would be high enough, and the water was just below the backyard this morning, and while I was packing everything into the car, it kept coming up and up and up, and it's now right level with my floor, so I can't get in.
And so, Tim, you mentioned there that, the all clear's been given for some people on the Nepean with water levels receding there. Is that pretty promising for where you are, because that's downstream from the Nepean, or is it the case that there are a lot of rivers that feed into the Hawkesbury subsequent to that, which will be still raising the level of the Hawkesbury where you are?
Well, look, we do know that it is still rising, and I mean, there's just so much saturation around here. Before, the shots we were bringing you earlier from the new Windsor Bridge just shows that, there's not much place for any of that sort of water to go. It's so saturated at the moment. So, I mean, just the latest update, it appears that there's some concern that the Hawkesbury could be in major flood tonight at about 13 metres. I'm just tracking it now, and it looks like the latest reading is at about 12.3 metres. So there's a lot of apprehension from residents of course, while that immediate threat may have eased on the Nepean, could potentially mean some good news for residents later down the track here in the Hawkesbury, but ultimately there is still some major flooding, it appears, to go.
Yeah, okay, we'll leave it there for the moment. Tim Swanson at Windsor on the northwest of Sydney, and Lisa Miller there standing in Port Macquarie, and you can tell by the way that camera is fogging up where Lisa is, that it's very humid there and very wet. Okay, we'll leave it there, guys. So with the